Well, let's put this motor in here and see what happens, shall we? I probably shouldn't have put that oil tank in there yet, but I'm gonna let it roll and we're probably gonna ruin shit. So let's do this instead. All right, that ought to take care of that for a second. Okay. There it goes. Woo! Boom, look at that. We're in there. Now we need to get that through there. Uh-oh, too far. Oh no, not all the way out. Oh, okay. Come on, man. Look at that. Woo. All right, so check this out. There's a little hole in this thing, so we can pry it up. There it is. We're through. Now we need to get that bottom bolt through here, and yeah, then we'll be buttoned down. And I like assembling. I'm strange like this. I like to assemble the motor in the bike. Oh, the bike. This is not a bike. This is a quad. It has 4 wheels. A bike, people. All right, check this out. A bike has 2 wheels. This has 4 wheels. It's a quad. And yeah, it's not any easier to say bike than it is to say quad. Quad is actually easier to say. Quad, 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 quad. Try saying bike. Bike, 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 bike. You gotta form your lips and do crazy shit, man. Just quad. Bike. It's harder to say bike. Call it a quad, people. That's what this is, a quad. A trike is a trike, 3 wheels. A bike is a bike, 2 wheels. Buy 2. Try 3. Quad 4. Sorry. I know that's a big discussion, but I hate saying bike when it's a quad. But anyway, here we are. Yeah. All right, now on the swing arm pivot bolt here, we got a washer. You want to make sure you get this big old thick washer on there. And then we got a nut, and you want to make sure that the flat side goes in. We're not going to do any torquing right now. No twerking. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll get this baby in there. Just get it snugged up a little bit so it doesn't come back out and fall out. So now we got this guy, and it's going to go right here. And you want to leave this kind of loose. And we have this weird looking thing on here because this is for our Nerf bars, so you might not have that. You might have 2 of these exact same bolts right here. Either way, they're the same. We'll leave that loose. Now put it on the other side. And then the longer bolt cruises right on through. Boom. And then we can throw the nut on there. I'm not going to tighten any of this, like I said. Not going to torque it. We're tightening it down a little bit. There we go. All right, folks. So, according to the manual, let's go ahead and check it out just to make sure I had all of these motor mounts facing the right direction. Because, you know, sometimes they want you to go left to right, sometimes right to left. The manual, and when I looked at my old video when I tore it apart, you can watch that if you want to. This bottom motor mount bolt right here goes the other direction. And hopefully it still is cool. Oh yeah, look at that. Pick up on the motor here. Oh, look at that, no problem. And we're gonna put the bolt through this direction. That's what the manual calls for, and that's the way it was when I took it apart. And I looked at other ones just to make sure, and yeah, let's get them all facing the right direction. I'm sure it probably doesn't matter that much, but we want to do all this stuff right? So they must have done that for a reason, and so let's get it done. Now, my 400EX was not this easy. This is pretty cool. I like this one. So let's get this lifted up, push through. Look at that. Easy as pie. And then we'll put the nut on this side. And there you go. Now we can get this baby hooked up. All right, check it out. Now that we got this motor installed into the frame down here, yeah, we can start getting this thing together. So first what we're gonna do is we're gonna go lay out the parts. Boom! We got all the parts ready to rock and roll. All right. So here's all the clutch side pieces we're gonna put on. And clutch. And we have all of the shift shaft and the oil pipe and oil delivery pipes and all that stuff. And stator gears and starter gears, counterbalancer, flywheel, oil pump. We got us a brand new oil pump too. Got us a brand new 2007 plus high output oil pump to go with our mod, our oil squirter, which we bought the 2012 right there. We bought the 2012 clutch cover inner, and it came with the oil squirter. So we got that, and now we have the high output oil pump to go with it. Boom! No more bearing lockup and seizure like what we're dealing with right now. So, got us a whole bunch of parts. All right, so we got us our water pipes, because you saw when we tore this thing down, if you want to go back and check that out. That, yeah, these things were rusty and mangled up. So we got us some brand new OEM water pipes. Brand spanking new Yamaha neutral wire. And we got us our Cometic top end gasket kit. And we got all of our crush washers and all that stuff, I think for the oil pipes and stuff maybe. I'm not sure what those are for, but we'll find out. I think they are. And we got the bottom end Cometic gasket kit with the O-rings. That's kind of weird. It says top end gasket installation instructions when this is the bottom end. Check it out. This is the bottom end kit. It says bottom end right there, right? The instructions say top end O-ring top end gasket installation instructions. Okay, sure, whatever. Wonderful. Got us a new drive sprocket. Genuine Yamaha drive sprocket. Brand new timing chain. From the shape that this machine was in with the chain all bound up in there. Yeah, we're not going to be using the old timing chain, so we got us a new one. More seals. A washer. So this is, I think, the transmission seal. And these are the clutch seal on the top of the engine. And there's another seal and another seal. We're going to get the seals going. No, not that. Nope. Engine seals. And then this guy, I didn't mean to order it, but I did. So this is that little plug that's on the side of the clutch inner cover over there, and I don't need it, but well, I bought it on accident. I didn't really pay attention to what it was in the diagram. So we're gonna install that. Got us a new sprocket cover, because I have the old one, but I don't feel like cleaning it, and it wasn't very expensive. So yeah. And I bought this on accident too. This is the shift shaft return spring catch that goes into the side, into the case, and I wasn't quite sure what it was in the diagram either. Didn't pay attention, thought I needed it. I do not. I'm not taking the old one out and putting this one in, so we'll just keep that for a rainy day. All right, fellas, so here's what's gonna happen. When you get to going, when you get to putting a motor together, it kind of looks overwhelming with all this good stuff sitting out here, but it's not too bad, really, once you break it down into little sections. So what we did was we went through the manual and we found out the order of how all of these things go together. And we're gonna do it the way, you know, the way the manual says to do it. So, and obviously it's common sense also because I actually had all of these in this order before I even looked at the manual. So, I mean, I'm pretty smart apparently. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is we already have the crankcase put together and installed into the machine back here. So next we are going to go in this order. We're actually probably gonna do these first though. Either one of these can be done either way. But what we're going to do first is we're going to crank out all the seals. Since this is already sealed up, we already have a couple of these things like this transmission cover with a seal on it. We got a seal here, transmission seals, clutch seals. So we're going to do the seals, and then we're going to put in this oil passageway, and we're going to put in the timing chain. And we may veer off of some of this stuff exactly, but this is the main game plan here, our little sections we have going on. So let's get to town, shall we? Let's get all of this stuff in there. All right, so we got these seals replaced. I apologize for that. I forgot to turn the camera on. Anyway, pulling the seals and replacing the seals is not that big a deal. We just pulled this out and plunked the new one in and used a socket or a driver if you have one. But anything that's, you know, big enough to fit around the outside of here and cover this, you just hit it with a hammer and punch that baby right in. And we replace this seal here and a seal up here. Next we have a collar that goes in here. And you want to make sure that these ridges right here, they go in. So I'm sure that that's so that when this is spinning in there, that this allows for fluids, oil, and stuff to circulate in there. So let's get some assembly lube, just a little bit of assembly lube on this guy. That'll help to go in the seal also. So then we can just put that baby right on in there and plunk it into the seal. Then we have our brand new cover, and it is just going to go right across the top here, like so. A couple of 8mm bolts hold that on, and we're going to use some thread locker blue. All right. And then these babies get torqued down to 7.2 foot-pounds, and my torque wrench only that small uses inch-pounds. So translated 7.2 is actually 86.4 inch-pounds. And my go-to for 7.2 foot-pounds is always 88 inch-pounds. You can use 87, which is probably closer. I just use 88 as a nice round number. And like 1 inch-pound is not going to hurt anything. So 88 inch-pounds, and we'll set this dog up and get her done. 88. 88. So while we're here, let's just put in the counterbalancer, and yeah, this, no matter which side that you do, the counterbalancer is going to have to go in anyway. And on this side especially, the counterbalancer is going to have to go in first because it goes right there. Everything else is going to cover it. So you want to make sure that you get the counterbalancer in there. So let's just go ahead and do that while we're sitting here, and then we don't have to worry about it. All right, so the counterbalancer has a little notch right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to line this up like this and slide it through so that it goes past the crank there, and then it will drop in like this. So let's get some assembly lube on this guy. We have assembly lube already on that bearing there, but this just helps it out. I want to make sure this is clean because all of this stuff is going to be inside the motor. You don't get another chance to clean it up. All right, and then it goes in like this. So that's all there is to that. Just slide it around and Get her all lubed up in there. All right, we're counterbalanced up. As long as we're over here, let's just put in our neutral sensor. So we're gonna install this guy right here. And it has a crush washer, so you don't need any Loctite on here. It's gonna go right here. All right, and that baby's 14 millimeter. All right, neutral light sensor in. Now let's move on. All right, now, yeah, let's get the timing chain in there. So there's our brand new timing chain. You just want to drop that sucker right on down through here, around there. And snag the gear, of course, and then let it drop on down through here. And see, that's why we're not going to put this cover on until we're done with the top end and everything, because we might need to adjust this chain, because sometimes it comes off the gear there. Let's get the guide in, and the guide is going to go up through here. This thing's kind of tricky sometimes. Up through there. There you go. And turn it right there. And then the timing chain guide gets these little square. And we're going to Loctite them. The manual does not call for Loctite, so it's not mandatory. I am going to Loctite them for peace of mind. Just some blue. And we'll just use this little driver here first. Okay, these also get torqued to 7.2 foot-pounds. My torque range only has inch-pounds that goes that low. So, once again, 7.2 foot-pounds translates into 86.4 inch-pounds, and I'm going to use 88 inch-pounds. That's what I just pretty much use for all of these little bolts that are 7.2 in the Yamaha. I use 88 inch-pounds. So let's get it done. 88. 88. 88 just to make sure. And 88 just to make sure. Boom. All right, we're chained up. All right, fellas, check it out. Before we do anything, we're gonna take a little bit of the Ultra Slick Permatex and we're gonna just go right up to the top and drop it right on down the chain. And let's go a little bit up to the top of here. We'll drop some down the chain guide. Let's put a little bit on here. Stuff comes out way faster than I thought it was gonna. Alright, so let's get some along the gears there and get some in the... Alright, well, that was quite a bit more than I had anticipated rolling through there, but you know, it'll all drip down in here in the bottom anyway. Mix with the oil whenever it's ready. Let's get some on the gear here. Alright, and then this guy goes on like this. This fatter end out. Just shoves right on in here. Like so. Then we take our Woodruff key and we drop it right on in the slot here. And you want to kind of tilt it a little bit forward. If you can, because we're going to make sure that the magneto slides on there. And that'll help it line itself up. Now we got our magneto. We're going to slam that guy on there. We're going to put a little bit of assembly lube up in here. You want to get some on these little bearings here. Some in there, and you want to find the slot, which is right here. And that slot is going to line up with the Woodruff key. So let's see, we're about, let's just put it at the top. And then we can line this guy up, top. And then we got a washer. I'm going to use a little bit of the blue Loctite on here. This does not call for it, but I'm going to do it just for peace of mind. Then the nut, it's a 17 millimeter. All right, I'm just going to spin this guy down with the impact real fast, and then it will get torqued to 47 foot-pounds. I'm just going to hang on to the crank here and give it a little whirl. Went over the Woodruff key that way. All right, now before we torque this, we're going to go ahead and put the starter idle gear in. And the reason why we're going to do that is because we're going to need this gear to line up with this gear so that we can hold it, so that we can torque it. Because otherwise we'll have to get some special tools and do some crazy stuff, and I don't feel like doing that. So the way this is going to work is you have the shaft, which is going to go right in here, like so. Then you have two sets of roller bearings. So you got one set here, and one set here, and then this guy goes in with this indented part in, like so. And then it just sits in there. So see, now we're going to use our nickel, and we're going to hold the gear here while we torque this dog up. So let's get that done. All right, now we can use our nickel. We can get this thing torqued down to 47 foot-pounds. So what we're going to do, we're going to throw a nickel right in here like so, and we're going to torque it up. $47 foot-pounds. Now I got all this stuff lubed up, so we're going to give it a little whirl and see if everything spins like it should, just to make sure. Yeah, look at that. Everything seems to be rolling pretty nice, huh? Now, I don't know if white was such a great choice for all of this stuff, because it's so hard to keep clean. This is going to be impossible to keep clean, man. Anyway, that is a different decision for a different time, and it's already done, so yeah. Once again, we're going to leave this cover off until we get the top end on, because we might need to relocate the chain, stuff like that, and yeah. All right, now we're finally over here to the clutch side. I feel like the first thing we should put in on this, the manual kind of calls for it, I guess. It's in the crankcase diagram. So we're gonna go ahead and knock this thing out. We're gonna put in this oil passage. Goes right on in here. Make sure we don't forget it. And yeah, this has got O-rings on it. There's an O-ring here at the end. There's an O-ring right here, and there's an O-ring right here. And you want to replace all three of these, which I've already done. And you guys know how to take an O-ring off, put a new one on, so I'm not going to go through that. So yeah. So anyway, this takes an 8mm bolt that's going to go right on in here, and it's going to get torqued to 7.2 foot-pounds. And once again, my Yamaha 7.2 is going to be 88 inch-pounds. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of assembly lube, and we're going to just these guys a little bit and make sure that everything's good to go here. All right, and then this guy just goes right on in here. And you kind of got to line it up in the back there and make sure that oil ring pops through. Boom. And you want to be careful with that. You don't want to just like shove it through, because it could turn the oil ring and get stuck in there. You just kind of want to, you know, just finagle it a little bit. Just make sure everything goes good. And we're going to use a little bit of blue Loctite on the bolt. Manual doesn't call for it, but I blue Loctite mostly everything on the inside here, just to make sure that, you know, we don't want any of this stuff popping off. And what's it gonna hurt, right? Nothing. Woo! All right. All right. Let me get this baby torqued down at 7.2, which I'm gonna use 88 inch-pounds. 88. All right, next, as long as we're right here, we're just gonna push this push rod in, just so we don't forget it when we put the clutch, before we put the clutch on, so, yeah. Jesus fucking Christ, man. It never fails, dude, it's quiet. I've been sitting here for fucking 4 hours, dude. Nothing, not a sound. As soon as I get ready to record, there's fucking airplanes and fucking bikes and people and kids and what the fuck, man? It's insane. I don't know how the world knows. How does the universe know that I pushed the record button? How? Anyhow. All right, so next we're gonna just get this taken care of as long as we're sitting right here. Let's get the push rod in there and the ball. And what we're gonna do though is we're gonna hit this guy with some assembly lube and the ball as well, and this notch right here goes in. But first, let's get a little bit of the ultra slick Permatex, and we're just gonna lube this guy up a bit. All right, and he just goes right on in like so. And then as long as we're here and we got the assembly lube, we might as well, you know, roll up on this ball a little bit. Play with the balls. Put that rod on in there too so we don't forget it. Now we know it's there. All right, now as long as we're right here, we might as well just go ahead and get this spacer in. It goes right on this guy right here. And the snap ring installed on there. And yeah, let's get a little bit of assembly lube. Just throw a little bit on here. And this guy just goes right on here like so. You just want to make sure it goes on far enough so you can get the snap ring on. And then we'll take our snap ring pliers here. Spread them, hit the bottom first so that you can get the top kind of just going along there. You want to open it up just enough. Boom. And then you can see I didn't quite hit the groove, so what you're gonna have to do is take yourself a pick or a screwdriver or something and make sure. And then what you want to do is make sure that it's seated, because this one didn't quite go on all the way, so. Boom, there it goes. Snap ring, boom, snapped on. All right, peoples, now we're gonna move on to the transmission segments and all that good stuff. So first we're gonna install, the first thing we install is this guy, the shift drum segment. And as you can see, it's got a little punch mark right here, and that is going to tell you that it belongs to the notch in the top of the shift drum right here. And you can see it's cut out right there. And this is gonna go into that notch. It also takes this bolt right here. And we are going to blue Loctite this guy. And then we'll just throw this guy, all right? Make sure that that punch mark lines up with our notch. And then this guy gets torqued to 22 foot-pounds. 22. Seems pretty smooth. But I wonder if that's too smooth. It seems like it's working though, because I can see the stuff moving around in there. Should it shift this smooth? I don't think so. I could be wrong. Maybe that's what the rest of this stuff is for. We're gonna find out. All right. And next, we're gonna have all of the noise and the people driving by, because I turned the camera on, because that's just the way it works today. There's no one, and then there's everyone. That's cool. Now we're gonna install the shift stopper lever, and the way this works is the spring is basically going to go in like so. So it's gonna go in and hook down in the bottom of here, and the bolt is gonna go across like this, and then this is going to hook into there. And we're gonna have to get all of that to work. So before we do all of that, let's throw some blue Loctite on the bolt. We're gonna have to get this spring in there first. This is gonna have to go back behind there, like so. All right, so check that out. That's exactly where it belongs. And then we're just gonna feed the bolt through, and then it should suck this guy right back down, because it's already where it's supposed to be. So now the way you can do it is you can use a T-handle or a driver or something like that, and yeah, we can just put the bolt in there, feed it through the hole, and then into the case like so. Now what you want to do though, you want to make sure that when you get it tight, there, it's snapped into place, but you want to make sure that this guy, it has a little collar on the back of this bolt, right? And a bigger hole in there. So let's, there. So that's what you want to do. You want to snap it in there. See, it made it inside of the, it went inside, boom. And now this guy gets torqued to 7.2 foot-pounds again, and that is 88 inch-pounds. 88 inch-pounds. All right. Next, we're going to install all of this stuff, and this is the gear bracket, the Pawls and the springs, and the shift mechanism and good stuff like that. Anyway, yeah. So basically, you got a couple of springs with caps on them, and if your caps aren't there, you need to put the caps on. And so we cap the springs off and set them aside. Set these two things aside for a second. Very first thing you're going to do is this side right here is going to be the side that's going to face out. It's going to go right in here like so when we're done. And it's going to shift the gears. So anyway, what's going to happen is this little bracket is going to secure everything, and this is going to be facing out like this. The flat side is going to go against the drum. It's going to go this direction. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. Take this piece, face it out towards yourself like this, and there's a little hole right here. This is for the oil to flow through and all that good stuff. That hole is going to face out this way. That's the way I just remember it. The hole faces the hole. So it's going to end up like so. So when we assemble it, we'll put this hole to the top. And the flat side is going to go like so. And we're going to rotate it. Boom. And we're going to get it right like so. Hole right there into the hole. Once we have it like this, we are going to rotate it around. And we're going to let this guy just kind of sit on top. Let it sit there and balance itself, right? And then we're going to take the springs and we're going to put them in the holes, like so. You want the caps out. The caps are going to be out. So they spring in and out. Like so. And then the other spring, like so. And then these guys are going to go in like so. And see, they won't pop out because that bracket won't let them pop out. Like so. And then we might need to slide this around a bit to give us a slot. And then we'll slide this in like so. And this is really hard to do because I got the camera and I'm trying to hold it. There. See, now we popped it into place. Boom. And technically now they won't come out. But you got to be really careful with this because they are spring loaded and this could fall out at any time. But as long as we have it here, let's get this baby installed and yeah, and hope we don't have everything pop out. One other thing to note, remember I put this in neutral. So we are working with neutral. This guy is up. We are in the rounded tooth. That means we're neutral. See, I can still hold it without them popping out. It's still cool. Now what you want to do, be very careful. Be very, very careful. because we're going to flip this around. And make sure, be very careful with it. Very careful, very careful, very careful. Oh no, they're coming out. And then these are gonna go, this is gonna go over the shaft. And now we need to get those babies pressed in so they can fit inside the drum in segment dealio in there. So this is where it takes a little finesse, and I hope I don't get in the way of the camera, but basically all we're gonna do now is pull those teeth in and slide it in there. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Don't do it. I fell out. So now we got it close. What I think I can probably do is use a pick. Uh-oh. Ooh! There! Look at that! See how simple that was? All we had to do was get those babies in place. And look at that. We didn't lose them. I can still see them both. Yep, that one's still in there. And that one's still in there. Boom. And boom. They're both there. Woo! And that's all there is to that. So now, it gets these gold bolts right here, and we're going to Loctite them. So we'll put the bolt in here. And before we torque these down, we'll just make sure that everything's free. It's still ready to rock and roll. Let's torque this dog. And these bolts get torqued to 7.2 foot-pounds. And again, my Yamaha 7.2 foot-pounds is 88 inch-pounds. So let's get it done. 88. 88. All right, now we got this little collar right here. And it just goes right up over the top of this right here. Then we have our shift shaft. And it's very important to don't forget this washer right here that's going to go on the shift shaft. And we're going to lube this up a little bit here. Some assembly lube. And then we can just shove this guy right on through here. And make sure that this right here goes in between there and onto, and we want to line this up in there, just like so. We'll give it a test, make sure, and then we can move on to getting the oil pump done and all that good stuff. So let's go. We are not going to use this old 2006 oil pump. We got a brand new one. Check it out, sitting here. This is a 2007 Plus. It is a high output oil pump. So a couple things we need to do is the new one is not going to have this assembly on it. It's going to come with just a rod out the back. So what we're going to have to do is take this off. And then there's a little pin, a little circlip on here. We're just going to have to pop this clip, and then we can get this off. And then we can put it on the new one, put this on the new one, and yeah, get her done. So check it out. This is the brand new one. Look at that. OEM out of the box. Look at that, it's still marked. But yeah, like I said, see, look at the difference. Little minute differences. E1, E2, this is the new one, E1. E2 is the old one. Pretty much the same, but this is a little higher output. And yeah, so see what I'm saying? We need to take this off, this clip, and get it done. Then we can install it. Let's go. Here's the old one. I finally got that circlip off. It took me like 9,000 years to do it, but I got that little circlip off. And then what happens is this comes off, boom, and then you got a little pin in here. So we'll change the pin, we'll put it in our new oil pump. We'll take this, we'll put it on, and then we'll put the new circlip on here. So what we'll do, we'll take the old pin, put it through here, and then we'll take this guy, and see this has little things on it right here. Boom. And then we just put the circlip back on here, secure it down, and there you go. All right, that was so much easier to install than it was to take off. It took me 5 seconds. Just plunked it back down on there, and here we are. Let me put this guy back on. There we go. And I think we're gonna have to put a little bit of oil through this thing because since it's brand spanking new, it's never had anything in it. We're gonna drop some oil through it. So before we install the oil pump here, we're gonna put a little bit of assembly lube through here. Just to have some kind of lubrication in there before we get going here. So let's put a little bit in here as well. No, we have it everywhere. Well, yeah. I don't know what that was, but that sounded pretty cool. We're going to Loctite these bolts with some blue Loctite, and they get torqued down to 7.2 foot-pounds, which you know with Yamahas here, I'm going 88 inch-pounds. Let's get some Loctite on here. And we got the silver one that goes on this side. And then we got the gold one that goes on the top. And then another gold one that goes over here. Alright, these bolts get torqued down to 7.2 foot-pounds. Just like all the rest, we're going to do 88 inch-pounds. Here we go. 88. 88. 88. All right, now we can put on our oil pump drive gear and got us a brand spanking new washer because I wasn't sure about how that other washer looked out of here. So you want to put this with the fat side back here facing in. So it just goes right up on here. And of course, interacts with the oil pump gear there. Brand new washer. Snap ring. So what you want to do is you want to grab it with your snap ring pliers here, and then we'll just slam it right on there. And let go of it just like so. Now we're going to put on the primary drive gear and the balancer drive gear. This guy has a little punch mark right here, and then you can see right here this spline is flatter than the rest, so you want to line this punch mark up with that flat. A little tricky, even though you know where it's supposed to go. There it is. Yeah. Let's get a little assembly lube on this guy. There we go. So next is the balancer driven gear. This little D right here lines up with that same spline. And then we have a little washer. So the manual does not call for this, but I'm going to use a little bit of blue Loctite on here just to make sure that it doesn't come off. I doubt it will, but you know, it's got a nice torque spec on it. We're going to put some on there anyway, just because. But yeah. And then we spin this guy on. All right, now we're not going to torque that yet. We're going to put on the counterbalancer driven gear. And it also has one of these little marks on it. And this also has, this one you want to hold from the back, because otherwise you'll push it back in again. And it goes with this indent inside. And it looks like the flat one's right there, and there's a counter marker right there. So it should go right about here. Yes, sir. All right, now this is the tricky part. Now you want to make sure you get this right, because otherwise you're going to be screwed. See these little punch marks? There's a punch mark here, and a punch mark here. This tooth goes inside of this gear right here, where the punch marks are. So you want to line these up. Boom. And that goes in there. So the punch mark with the tooth goes in the punch mark slot right there. And then this takes a little washer right here that has a little notch on it. The little notch goes in the hole. And again, you want to hold that from the back. There you go. Then we got us our little nut. All right. All right, now this bolt on the counterbalancer gets torqued to 36 foot-pounds. So what we're going to do, so we're going to put a penny in here and torque this baby down to 36 foot-pounds. And the penny will keep the gears from, you know, getting wrecked. Oh, uh-oh. I spun the whole thing through there. That's not cool. I think we're going to have to go for a nickel. That's not what I had planned on doing. All right, new plan. We're going to try a nickel instead. I think a nickel is a little bit harder than a penny, but still soft enough to not screw the gears up. So let's try the penny instead, or the nickel instead. There you go, 36 foot-pounds. And there you go. It's a little bit different than a penny. The penny went right through the gears. Usually that doesn't happen. That's kind of strange. But anyway, yeah. So then now let's get this guy torqued down. And that one gets torqued down to 54 foot-pounds. So we'll have to use our nickel again for sure, because the penny will go straight through there. Let's put the nickel up in the top this time, because we're going to be spinning it this direction. There we go, 54. Now we're gonna have to bend these tabs up on these guys. That one's pretty even. This one, neither one of these kind of work. And technically this is the one that we should have used, but we had to flatten it out in order to make this washer work. But yeah, we're gonna make this one work right here. It's pretty close. We'll be able to bend that up and make sure. So yeah, let's get that done. Give it kind of like right there. There you go. That'll be good enough. All right, so let's get this one turned up. There you go. Now we're bent up on enough tabs here. That guy's not coming off, and this guy's not coming off. And we got Loctite on here, Loctite on here. All right, now we got to get the counterbalancer weight on there. It goes right here. And I took it off like a dumbass. I don't know why I took it off, but anyway, look at the bright side. We got it cleaned up. It looks beautiful. We're going to red Loctite this one, because I don't want this thing coming off and flopping around, and I don't plan on ever taking it off again. So let's get just a little bit of red Loctite on these guys. And then this is a Torx 30. So we'll just take one of these dogs right here. And I couldn't find a torque spec for these in the YFZ450 carbureted models, but the YFZ450Rs have the same exact thing, and they call for 8.7 foot-pounds. So we are going to torque these down to 100 inch-pounds. And that's right in between 8 and 9, at the high side of 8, which is exactly 8.7. Good enough. So we're going to torque these down to 100 inch-pounds. Let's get her done. We're going to try a penny on this one, though. 100. 100. 100. All right, let's get the clutch basket on. And this clutch basket is, holy cow, I've never seen, in all the builds I've been doing, I've never seen a clutch basket as nice as this one. I mean, look at that. You can see where the fingers were and stuff, but you can't even feel any of that. Super smooth, super, man, I don't know, this thing, look at that. Super tight and nothing moves. This is awesome. I don't even know what to say. But anyway, yeah. So this gear is gonna butt up against this, so you wanna make sure that you get this guy in there. And then we're gonna make sure that all that stuff is gonna wiggle it a bit, and boom, there it is. And then we want this washer. All right, next we got the clutch inner, and this thing is actually called like the clutch boss, I think. So the clutch boss is gonna go in next after this washer. And you wanna make sure that it zips on, boom. Stays on in there. All right, now we got a washer, and the washer is going to come with these little tabs out. There's a tab here and a tab here, and they're gonna stick into these little notches. So this guy is gonna go right in there. And then we got the nut. We can't use a penny trick on this one. We're gonna have to use a Motion Pro tool here, so let's get that done. All right, so we got the Motion Pro tool stuck on here, so let's clamp it down. Oh, yeah. And then we can let it sit down here at the bottom. This guy gets torqued down to 54 foot-pounds, so let's get this thing torqued up. All right, so this is a 30 millimeter. I'm going to torque this to 54 foot-pounds. 54. So we're going to take the old channel locks here, and we're going to crank this. There you go. Now one more thing, that guy's still in there. Remember before we put the ball in there, right? But that thing fell out while I was messing around with stuff. So let's make sure we get the ball back in there. All right, let's get the plates in there and get ready to go to town. And we do have a little washer, a little wave washer that goes back in the back here. And then we have one plate that makes sure you have to get in first. Then the washer goes in like this. So you want to make sure that the concave end, the concave part goes this direction. So mine are all oiled up already. And then with the YFZ450s, you have this first plate that's skinnier than the rest. And that's the one that goes on the washer there. So we'll just throw that dog in there. And then we'll just stagger them with the plates. So we got a plate, and a fiber, and a plate, and a fiber. And we'll end with a fiber. All right, now, we made sure we got the ball in there and the push rod. Now, we're gonna put the second push rod in. We wanna make sure we put this rod in there. And we're gonna use the old Ultra Slick, put a little assembly lube on this guy. All right, now, put that guy in here. I think we might need to move some stuff around a little. There we go. So you want to get that thing pushed in there. We move the clutch back here. So see, when we push the clutch, this guy is gonna roll like that. All right. Next, we got our pressure plate. I'm gonna roll that in like so. Then we're gonna spin these guys down. All right, we'll just zip these guys down in a crisscross pattern. And now these guys get torqued down to 5.8 foot-pounds, and I am going to use I know me. So 5.8 foot-pounds, and I'm going to use 70 inch-pounds, which is pretty close. And anyway, let's get these torqued down and get to town here. 5.8. 5.8. All right, now we got one more thing left to do here. We got to get our oil passage hooked up with our brand new oil ring. Yeah, and it goes right down in here. Boom. We need the water pipe put in here. So we got us our brand new OEM water pipe and the O-ring that goes on there. And in case you want to know, here's the part number. And the O-ring, yes sirs and ma'ams. Now since these guys are brand new, we're going to grease them up with a little bit of the old Maxima waterproof grease. So let's get us a little, just a tiny little dab on there. And we'll dab us up the O-ring. And then we'll dab up this guy just a little bit here. You want to throw that guy right on there. And it's going to go right in here. So, now, we can pretty much almost get ready to button this guy down, huh? Yeah, look at that. We're rolling. Woo! All right, let's get this guy buttoned down. All right, now before we put the gasket on, what I like to do is put a little bit of the Maxima waterproof grease around the outside of here and the outside of the other case cover half that's going on here. That way, you know, in case we have to take it back apart, or in the future, if we ever take it apart again, the gaskets will come off easy, and it kind of aids in tiny bit. It aids a little bit in sealing, so just a little bit. Just take a thin coat of some grease and put it along the outside here. What it also does is it helps us to stick the gasket on there and keep it in place while it doesn't slide around. And while we're here, we're going to put in our dowel pin, and I'm also going to grease that. Sometimes I use anti-seize, but the grease will work just as good. All right, now we're going to grease up the other side, the cover that's going on here, and you want to make sure that you get all the stuff done to it before we get going here. Like, I replaced this seal right here, and I replaced the bearing inside of here. One more thing we have to do on this. This is our upgraded case. We bought this from a 2012. It came with the oil squirter. That's very important. That's what we're doing here. We got the brand new 2007 Plus oil pump, the higher velocity oil pump in there, to go along with our squirter, because we're going to need a little bit more oil because we're going to use the squirter. So the squirter basically replaced this O-ring, and then this little notch right here goes into the notch right here. All right, in like so, with the notch facing up. Boom, just slams right in there. And then what it does is it sticks through this hole right here, and it lubricates up the wrist pin. Right there is a little hole, right? So it squirts up, and I believe it goes through this, squirts up into there. There you go. We're gonna get this greased up, and then we'll put it together. All right, now one other thing we got to do to this cover here is we got to put the water pump impeller in, and it's gonna go right into that bearing right there, of course. And this thing gets torqued down to 10 foot-pounds. All right, so in order to torque this dog, the front right here, this is a 12 millimeter, and the back, you can hold it right here with a 13 millimeter wrench. And what I do is just lock it down right here on the end. Lock it down so that it hits that. Boom. Now, you can grab this side and torque it up with your 12 millimeter socket. 10 foot-pounds, which is 120 inch-pounds. Get her done. Woo! All right, check it out. Now, we got all this down. We can stick the gasket on and get these bolts in there. Got our Cometic gasket. Yeah. Stick the dowel pins first. And then this guy. And see, now we can stick it into the grease, and it kind of helps to keep it in place. All right, let's plunk this sucker down on there and get to town, shall we, before this thing falls off. But now it happens to have the oil squirter on it. You want to make sure that guy goes through the hole. And we'll go back here first. Make sure all this stuff goes through. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at that. Okay. Oh no! Is there more we have to do to this oil mod? I thought that thing would fit right through there, but apparently... Ah! Oh no! That's gonna leave a mark, isn't it?
A lot of boring math later.
Alright. And what I had to do, I had to cut this out right here, because now that we have our oil squirter in there, it wasn't fitting with this gasket. It was pressing up against it and starting to bend the gasket, and that's not cool, so I had to chop that part out. Alright, now we can take the cover here and we're gonna line it up into here first on this side. So stuff it through this side. And then try to hit the dowels. So one goes in there, and then we got to hit the oil passage down there. Might have to slide this around a bit. I think we're on the money here. For some reason, this top dowel pin is giving me a few problems, but I think that's all there is to that. Alright, now we got a bunch of these size bolts right here. And they're gonna just stagger around. So we got one here. And we got one here. We're gonna make sure they all get going here. We got one way back there. Looks good. Started that one. And then we have one here. We have one here. And here. And here. And here. And here. And then we have one here. Well, this one kind of felt like it's going to give me problems. I guess not. Alright, so let's get these all, make sure they all start and they go through the gasket. Yep, everything went through the gasket. Then there are a couple more of these that hold it, like we got one here, but it goes through the cover, the oil filter cover. Then we have one here that's going to go through the clutch cover. But let's get these down first. First we're going to just snug them all down, and then they get torqued down to 7.2 foot-pounds. But my Yamaha 7.2 is 88 inch-pounds, which is probably about, I don't know, 7.5 maybe, but. All right. So now I think we can go around and start torquing these guys. 88. I'm gonna cruise over here. 88. I'll go down here in the corner. 88. 88. All right, now we can get the water pump cover on. All right, and you want to make sure that you get the brand new gasket in there. And we're gonna take a little bit of the Maxima waterproof grease and put a little light coat of grease around it before we put it in. Keep it protected. Keep it sealed. There you go, light coat. The bottom one here has a brand new crush washer. All right, these also get torqued to 7.2 foot-pounds. We're gonna use the handy dandy 88 inch-pounds instead. All right. 7.2, 88 inch-pounds. 88 inch-pounds. 88. 88. All right. All right, next we can get our oil filter in here and get the cover buttoned up. Got a couple things we need to do. We have 3 O-rings. Boom. They go 1, 2, and 3. And I'm gonna grease them up a little bit so that they stick in there. You want to make sure you have your O-ring on here, which I have already greased it up and put it on here. Then we got the oil filter. So obviously you can only put this on one way. You have this little notch that sticks up, and you obviously can't put the oil filter on this way because... Alright, so the filter goes with this hole in there. There we go. Now let's get these two lined up. And then this one goes into the case. Boom. Hopefully our gasket still lines up. All right, these bolts get torqued down to 7.2 foot-pounds. Again, we're going to use 88 inch-pounds. 88. 88. 88. Let's get the clutch cover on there, like the outer clutch cover. And yeah, we're going to take a gasket here. Again, this is our Cometic gasket. We're going to grease it up. I'm not going to do the greasing on the thing itself. I'm just going to grease both sides of the gasket on this one. Not a lot, just a little bit. Now, they don't really tell you which way this goes, so we're going to have to guess. But you see this notch right here. Obviously matches up with that notch right there, I guess. So, does it go like this? No. Or does it go like this? Yeah, see? So I got all the bolts already in here. So let's just put the gasket onto the bolts. What? I know, right? See, like if we did this, these two bolts are gonna stick in there. That bolt is going to go in there. Uh-oh. That bolt's gonna go on the floor. There we go. We'll get this bottom one started to make sure because we got those top ones started. There we go. I'm not tightening these down. They're going to get torqued to the same as all the rest of the stuff we're doing here. 7.2 foot-pounds. Alright, so you know what time it is. Let's get out our 88 inch-pounds and get her done. 88. 88. Yep. 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 There we go. All right, we're torqued up. It's looking beautiful. Woo. Now, I don't know if white was such a great choice for all of this stuff because it's so hard to keep clean. This is going to be impossible to keep clean, man. Anyway, that is a different decision for a different time, and it's already done, so yeah. So let's move on, and we can get this baby, the top end going here. Once again, we're going to leave this cover off until we get the top end on because we might need to relocate the chain, stuff like that, and yeah. We technically probably shouldn't even have put this stuff on. We should have just started putting the top end on, but anyhow, here we are. So, you know what time it is. Peace out, Girl Scouts. Woo!